pausing as an anguished shout shook the window panes. "Terry called me a couple of hours ago. Says he's got a vengeful ghost stalking him. I show up, and the man's being chased around his house by a long-haired hippie woman in a white dress and long nails that would look fabulous if there was a bit of polish on them, you know? But they're black as night and look like claws. She's in there trying to claw his heart out," he said, jerking his thumb behind him. He gave a big sigh, sounding disappointed. "It's not a ghost. We got a human problem. A hospital escapee or something like that. I called the police station, but Gary says he's out investigating something important, and if Terry Becker can't handle a crazy little girl by himself, then he wasn't much of a man to start with." I didn't know Gary, but I already hated him. And judging by Terry's screams of terror, I didn't think there was just a crazy little girl in there. I cocked my head. A baby's cry floated to my ears, sounding like a distant echo. "Is Sandy Becker at home?" "No, she'd be at work. She's a hairdresser at Curl Up and Dye, the salon down on Main Street." "Do they have a baby?" "They got a little a boy. He's at the daycare." I sniffed the air. The faint smell of frangipani hung in the air. Underneath that, the heavy, sickening odor of decaying flesh. It could be an air freshener, covering up the smell of a dead raccoon under the house. But I was never that lucky. I leaned sideways, peeking through the front window of Terry and Sandy Becker's house. The living room was a mess. A cereal bowl laid upturned on the carpet. The TV was smashed on the floor. A game console's control cords tangled up and wrapped into a ball. Claw marks ripped through the wallpaper. A little blood spatter, too, trailing into the kitchen. The only spot in the living room that hadn't been completely wrecked was in the corner. There, I could see a kid's play area. A little desk with nicely organized craft supplies, a cute toddler stool, and some toys neatly stacked onto shelves. I mentally ticked off all the evidence, grimacing. Pale woman, long black hair and fingernails, trying to kill the man inside. Faint baby cry, smell of frangipani. I was pretty sure I knew what it was. "Father," I said to Benson, "I might need your help with this one after all. Have a seat for a minute while I go check it out." He sat back down in a huff. "I'm not calling Gary again. That man's an ass." I tried the front door. It was unlocked. I tiptoed into the living room, picking my feet over the scattered debris, and moved slowly toward the kitchen, where sounds of fighting had escalated. I stuck my head around the corner, taking in the scene. Terry Becker was on the kitchen table, crying in terror, pinned down, spread-eagled, and writhing underneath the most terrifying woman I'd ever seen. Just as I thought, a Pontianak. Long black hair covered her face completely, obscuring any other features. Her white gown was loose and billowy, flowing over her thin chest and her unnaturally bulging belly, the pale white gown contrasting the black of her hair and claws. She had Terry pinned with one hand, his t-shirt pushed up around his neck, and she was using the claws on the other hand to delicately mark out the shape of his liver on his pale, trembling belly. Tiny gashes slid open when she struck his skin with her claws. Her body trembled with anticipation, ready to plunge her hand in and rip out his liver. He spotted me in the doorway behind the monster, his eyes wide with terror. "Help me!" His shaking voice was barely a whisper. The Pontianak pulled back her hand, ready to plunge it into his flesh. "Nope," I said firmly. I stepped forward and grabbed her by her hair. "No, that's not polite." I yanked her back. She gave a howl of rage and fell off the table. "You can't go around feasting on the flesh of men," I told her sternly. "Nuh-uh." Immediately whirling around, she swiped her long claws through the air, hissing at me. The long black hair swished back and forth as she whipped at me, cutting my head, then my torso. I caught a glimpse of her eyes through the curtain of hair, glowing red.